Kiwi Yarns with Brodie Kane.
Kia ora te whānau and welcome to Kiwi Yarns. Sorry, Paul, did I give you a fright?
No, I was just about to start talking, Brodie.
Oh, because normally
we started.
Normally, when we count in, you would start. Well, sorry, not today.
Well, I didn't hear counting.
No, you didn't. So, okay. Do you want an earpiece?
No.
Okay, you're fine. I'll carry on. Today's guest is the broadcaster Paul Henry, which is interesting. We still call him a broadcaster because he's dipping out of retirement. He keeps dipping in and out to host tally shows, the most recent being The Chase, the New Zealand version. This is between being Yacht Paul, Gin Paul, Palm Springs Paul, retired Paul. So it's a wonder someone who's so busy being retired has time to host a new show, let alone be on the board of the company he resigned for back in 2010, that being TVNZ. Plenty to catch up on here with one of our best known characters. Welcome to Kiwi Yarns, Paul.
Thank you, Brodie.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Love the show.
It's lovely to be here. You know, it's called, I can't remember who it was that told me once that they intended from now on, they were slightly older, they intended from now on to operate a portfolio career.
Oh, is that what?
It's quite, well, to me, that's what it seems I'm doing now. Although I don't like the term career. I just like, you fumble from one thing to another. But I suppose technically I have had a career because most of the things I fumbled from have been in the same sort of industry.
But now it's, so are you a retired man with a portfolio? Is that what we're saying?
Well, no, I have stopped because I was getting great joy writing retired on, documents and that, mostly arrival documents at different countries, quite, occupation retired. But I've just recently stopped doing that. I've just, because it isn't correct anymore, really. But for a while I was properly retired, but then COVID happened and I couldn't do my retired life anymore the way I had been doing it. And so then I just, slipped back into a little bit of work.
Okay, there's occasional retired Paul, Palm Springs Paul, Yacht Paul, Gin Paul.
Yeah. You forgot farming Paul.
Farming Paul.
Yeah.
When are you farming?
Well, I've got it's very little farm, but my neighbours in Palm Springs think it's a ranch. I've sold it that way. But in the Kaipara, I've got a little farm, just a few sheep and a few cows.
Who's up there farming it for you?
Oh, I've got someone that does that.
You got the people?
Yeah.
Farming Paul?
Well, the person. It's a small outfit. Yeah. But, it's proper farm.
Yeah. Bloody farming Paul. Okay.
Yeah.
A genuine how are you to start the day?
Good.
You move around though. So you're here obviously right now. Where's next? Because you split your time. Are you sort of no fixed abode or?
I suppose it's almost like that. I mean, I have multiple fixed abodes, but I suppose the more you have, the closer you get to no fixed abode, don't you? Ironically. So in a couple of weeks' time, I'll go back to Palm Springs. And then I'm going to London for Christmas. I've been trying with my wife to have Christmas in London for years and years and years, but always something happens and you can't be there for actual Christmas. It's decades since I last had Christmas in London, and it's so lovely.
Do you, with your sort of no fixed abode, but plenty of abodes to be fixed at, how does your wife, does she like having time? Are you guys good with like time apart?
Yeah, but we have lots of time together in different abodes.
Yeah.
Because she is exactly the same as me. That doesn't mean we're always in the same place, because we have places that I like and she loves and places that I love and she likes. So it works out quite well.
Does she get amongst boat Paul, yacht Paul? Like, does she like yachting?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. She doesn't like being out on long voyages, and she doesn't like being on the boat for too long, which I get, because no matter how nice it is, once you get into week 2, you think, oh, why am I still on this boat?
But also, recently your little Dear Diaries, your little Instagram Dear Diaries, sailing to...
I know. Well, she wouldn't do that.
It was giving Tom Hanks Castaway a little bit as you were getting hairier
because
and
it's
hairier.
Horrible.
Yeah.
It's, blue water sailing is horrible, but there's a certain reward that you can only get from doing it. But, well, like you with your running and everything, horrible. I can't think of... I would rather do blue water sailing than running. but you get
Really?
a certain reward from it.
Yeah, okay. And we can respect each other's.
Yeah. Criticise, but still respect.
Yeah,
I
and
suppose.
judge.
Yeah, and
mildly.
judge.
Yeah. Let's start with the chase. I just watched the first episode. Love the chase because what do you think it is in the general sense of that show that people love? Because
It's the format.
Yeah?
You know, it's the fact that no matter what you've been doing, no matter what time you start watching it, you straight away understand where you are.
Yeah.
And you see a full program. Even if you only watch the last 5 minutes, you still get to see a full program. It's an hour-long show made up of 6 or 8 programs, which are in their own right entirely rewarding to watch. The other thing, of course, is because of the pace of it, you can genuinely play along with it.
Yeah, that's a great show.
It's a great format. It's a great format.
I didn't think about it in terms of because if you clock in 5:02, if I might catch the news tonight.
Yeah.
You're in for the business end, but you can easily sit down and be immersed in the whole thing and
Yeah.
really get pissed off
And
when
you
people
know,
behave a
you know
certain
where
way.
they're up to in the show.
Yeah.
So you can just fill everything else in subconsciously and then enjoy the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We watched it, and I watched it with my mum. She had some feedback.
What's her name?
Jo Kane.
Okay.
Well, she had some feedback.
Jo Kane.
Jo Kane.
Kane is a surname.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kane.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So she sort of had
It's
this
just odd when you say to someone, "What's her name?" and you give the full name.
Sorry, Jo.
Yeah. Oh,
But
Jo.
no, actually, she is Jo Kane. I don't.
That's what everyone calls
Yeah,
her.
yeah. So she had sort of, I don't know whether this is a semi-statement / dig / question for you after watching the first show. I'm interested in why he felt he needed to host this. I'm pretty sure he doesn't need the money. He's got a great life. Why would you bother? Is it because you want to show people that you're nice?
Okay, so does Jo Kane only do things for money? Evidently, yes.
Well, she's retired.
Well, Jo Kane is right.
Yeah.
I'm quite enjoying calling her by her full name. No, Jo Kane is right. I don't need the money.
Yes.
I've got to the point in my life where I won't do anything for free.
Fair.
Because time is precious. So I won't do anything for free. So I want to be paid for my time. But I don't necessarily want to be paid for what I do in that time. And you couldn't say no to The Chase. It's the biggest game show franchise in the world at the moment. Great challenge. Great challenge. Just an exciting little thing to do.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, hey.
So that's why. So she was right.
Yeah.
But I think her question says a lot more about her than it does about me. And no, I didn't want to seem to be nice. But I mean, I am. You know me. You know I'm nice.
I do.
But that isn't necessarily the persona that I display quite often. But it was still part of the little challenge was to actually host a show where you are very much on the side of the contestants.
Can I ask as well, because one of the things that's always fascinating is the execution of the questions, which have to, but you can't fuck those up.
No.
How many times do you get to go over them, or are you seeing them?
No. You obviously you have
you
to
get
see
a-
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the scripts.
Yeah.
I can genuinely say, because it's against the clock, there is an awful lot of pressure. In television, there's a lot of pressure anyway. That show has a huge crew, huge production crew, huge studio crew. There's a lot of vid walls that everything has to coincide, the music, the vid. So if you muck something up, there's a lot of resetting to be done. On top of that, you're against the clock. So if you muck something up, you have to effectively change the timing to make it fair for both the chaser and the contestants. So I've come to the conclusion in that position, it is almost harder asking questions than it is answering them, because the requirements on the person answering them is just to answer them correctly. There are many more requirements than that on the person asking them. So that was another little challenge.
And before that, you'd worked on Traitors, and we were on that show together, and that was a really fun experience for me, a wonderful reality show format in my opinion. And these are two shows of a style of, I guess, presenting for you, moving away from news, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, and very different styles. Like Traitors was theatre. And so my job was to reinforce the theatre all the time. So reinforce the theme and hold the theme together, because you've got a lot of contestants there who are actively working against the theme, because the show is easier to win if you're not embedded in the theme. So that was a very different role for me. There's a substantial amount of acting involved in that role. That is not the case. In fact, one of the other beauties of The Chase is that you actually get to find out what people are like. Quite, it's that tiny little chat at the beginning, the fact that they're nervous, they're under pressure, they sort of have a little bit of interaction with their teammates. There's a lot of one-on-one in that program, and you do actually, as a viewer, get to know how people tick to a degree.
And they always are just such lovely people.
They seem it, don't they?
Yeah, they're just always so refreshingly like, I'd love to take the camper, I'll go away in a camper van. And you're like, well, that would be great, They're always, and even in the UK version, they're always salt of the earth.
My daughter's always wanted to go to Kazakhstan. I just want to win enough money to send her.
Yeah.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah.
We all want you to do that. That's quite important with the show too. You will occasionally find episodes. I mean, I've seen episodes of the English Chase where there are people that are maybe not quite so likeable, and it's interesting how you very quickly don't want them to win.
Yeah.
Very quickly you're on the side of the chaser.
And the chasers, so how many chasers did you get to work with, or are you allowed to say that?
2.
Yeah, 2. Okay. Because they're fascinating characters.
Oh, no, well, they are fascinating characters. Like, you can put them loosely into a group, and I'm sure there are some that don't fit into the slightly skitsy group, but there wouldn't be many. I mean, they are all on the spectrum. And we're all on the spectrum. Look at you. We're all on the spectrum, but they are on a particular spectrum.
Yeah.
And you have to be to be able to absorb all of that information. The key is actually, it's not even being clever. It's being able to recall. It's remembering and then being able to recall rapidly. See, I would be hopeless as a contestant on The Chase. And I'm smart and I've got great general knowledge, but my recall is terrible.
Yeah.
And that's actually the worst kind of person for a game show. It is so much better not to know the answer, because you'll straight away say, pass, which is what you want to do. Whereas if you know the answer, I don't know about you at home, but if you know the answer, you think, and you don't want to let it go. You want to gnaw away at it, and you'll just eat up all your time.
Yeah, see, I'm extremely competitive, but one of the things that I'm not good at is quiz night, because I'm too in it. I get in my head.
Yeah.
That's why I run.
See, well, competition, that's the reason. Competition, it can be very tricky for some people, and that because people who compete with themselves a lot find it very hard competing with other groups of people.
Yeah.
So you're asked a question, you know the answer, but you can't quite recall it. You will never get that out of your head, even if you just have to in the end say, pass, and then they give the answer, and you'll be beating yourself up, and they're asking another question.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I like it. Do you think, how many episodes did you record?
4.
4. Will we see more? We've saved up enough money in the kitty to go again next year?
I would be surprised if we don't have more.
Yeah.
I would be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, a decision hasn't been made, but I would be surprised if we don't see more. I mean, it would be wonderful to be in a bigger country where we could have a daily show.
Yeah.
But even down to the population, even forgetting the cost of that, which would be phenomenal, you need to have a big population to support a show like that on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah. And everyone would know. One of the women, she was from Rangiora. I was like, oh, that's where I went to high school.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. That's
one of the great things about essentially New Zealand on air. You do, I mean, the references, and you watch it and you think, I love the British Chase, I love it. You watch the Chase New Zealand and you think, shit, there is something to be said for just hearing references of your own country, hearing the voices of your own people.
Yeah. You're also now on the TVNZ board, as I mentioned in the intro. How did you get that? Did someone ring you and ask you?
See, that's not something that I really want to talk about. Yeah.
But you're on the board. Yes. Are you able to? I know that there's things that you can't say. Can you say anything in terms of like what it means to you, or sort of?
Well, I wouldn't be doing it if I wouldn't be doing it if I thought doing it was a waste of my time. And to quote Joe Kane, I'm not doing it for the money. To be honest, I don't think there are very many directors on boards of Crown entities or SOEs who are doing it for the money. You know, you are doing it for the good of doing it well.
Yeah. Have you been on boards before?
No.
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 So it's just a new string to the portfolio.
Well, no, I don't know. Well, it forms part of the portfolio, I suppose, at the moment, but I don't know that that's a direction I necessarily am planning on going in.
Yeah, fair.
You know, like multiple boards and that, which I know for some people that's very much sort of end of employment strategy.
Yeah.
You know, play out your last few years of employment, you know, on multiple boards. That isn't a strategy for me.
No, because you've got Yacht Paul and Palm Springs Paul and Farming Paul, and
Yep.
there's too many Pauls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it give you a little bit of a chuckle, like a full circle moment, for want of a better term, in terms of the last time you were at TVNZ? I mean,
it's a wonderful bookend.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful bookend, isn't it?
Yes.
Like when I arrived, I didn't come through the back door.
Yeah.
Whereas last time I left, I did go out the back door.
Yeah. Does that job seem like 7 million years ago?
It does.
It does?
But it should seem like 7 million years ago to everyone, because it was about 7 million years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, and do you know what's funny? Because I was watching a couple of clips before this, not just before this, and even when you watch them back on YouTube, you're like, how, like, it looks like it was filmed on a potato. You know, the quality in that. What are some of your fondest memories? I don't want to stick on breakfast because you've talked about it so much, and but
Filmed on a potato.
well, the quality.
Yeah, I think a lot of that isn't so much the quality as it was broadcast.
No,
I think
I
it's
know.
the quality of the recording and the hanging on to it.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But
no,
I
I
should
love
be
that.
clear.
I
Should
think
be clear,
no, I
exactly.
think everyone should use that analogy. You
Well,
know,
it's-
oh God, that new car! It looks like it was made on a potato.
Well, it's always the way. It's always the way when you see, like, if you see something that someone's caught on camera,
Yeah.
you're like, why does it look like crap? You
Yeah.
know, but not at the time. It didn't look that way.
No.
But re-spat out on YouTube, it does. Is that one of your? Is it one of your favourite jobs? Obviously, the classic thing for people to do when they may think about you and breakfast is to go to controversy, right? Or the things that got the headlines. But if you pull all that out, is it one of your most favourite jobs?
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah.
One of them. I mean, it's one of the jobs I've done the longest, you know, and people always talk about the controversies, but, you know, I was on air, on live television, being myself for 15 hours a week for 7 years. You know, if you can find 3 or 4 things that you think I overstepped the mark on, that's not bad going, is it? In 7 years.
Do you think? Do you think you overstepped the mark at all?
Yeah, well, history would have it so.
Yeah.
But to be someone like me, just being yourself, you're going to overstep the mark. I mean, how many times last week did you overstep the mark just in life?
Now you.
What would Joe Kane say?
Maybe I did overstep the mark a couple of times last week.
You know,
maybe.
I mean, it's just because it's just living.
Yeah.
You know, and to what extent do you want to, like, spend your morning watching people in your living room that aren't being authentic? You know, and so that's the quid pro quo. You know, those people, if they're really being authentic, maybe they're going to overstep the mark a couple of times.
Yeah.
It seems inconceivable they wouldn't.
Like the other thing though as well is this was a period of time that it was. Am I correct in assuming that this was breakfast's biggest ever ratings.
Yes.
Yes. And you worked with the wonderful Pippa Wetzel for a good chunk of that, who I worked with on Fair Go. She was a remarkable human.
She's just lovely.
Oh.
And she's just lovely,
Yeah.
isn't she? And she's got that real, not just her looks, but her whole personality is that real girl next door, or person next door. It's just a great vibe. It's a great vibe. I loved working with her.
You're right, and she's everything you see as well with her is genuine as well. Were there? Talk to me though about for you the hours. I only did it for, I think it was even less than 2 years, but the hours and being on every morning, irrespective of what might be happening in your world, you have to.
The hours were horrendous.
Yeah.
So my alarm used to go at 2:30 in the morning, but it's that whole thing that people think, oh yeah, that's quite early. You get in and have a cup of tea. No, you get in and you have to be on. You've got scripts to read, you've got decisions to make, you've got programming to think about, you've got people to talk to, then you're on and you have to be 100%. That is the most important part of your day. You can't sort of trail off. I used to get out of there as soon as possible afterwards, because essentially you'd get home and you'd have maybe an hour before you started to coma out, and then watch the news, read a few articles online, and then just collapse. It was very hard because I'm a late night person, and harder than getting up at 2:30 in the morning was having to go to bed early, but you have to force yourself to do that at least a couple of nights a week.
Do you think, when we'll touch on, I want to talk about some of the earlier parts of your career in journalism, but do you think when you took that role on, was that because when was it, 2004, back in the day?
Yeah,
back
7,000
in 04 or
years
something.
ago.
Yeah, 7 million.
Million years ago.
Was that, I can't, that was my phone because I need to play you a video in a minute.
Okay.
But I think 2004, I just started uni, actually, studying journalism. But were you, was that kind of the first iteration of people really inserting their personalities into what was still essentially news and current affairs?
I suppose it was in the early days of that. Whether it was the first, I don't know, but it was in the early days. I started with television news many years before, doing a game show called Every Second Counts. But more recently than that, I was on the panel of How's Life. Do you remember that program with Charlotte Dawson?
Yeah.
And that, I suppose, is how Television New Zealand first thought, maybe we'll approach him. Because that show, do you remember it played just before? Do you know, I literally have no idea what years we're talking about now. But it was probably a couple of years or a year before I started on Breakfast.
Yeah.
And that was an extraordinary program. I can remember once Judy Bailey stopping me in the car park, and when I was going in to tape another series of How's Life, and she stopped me in the car park and she said, "Oh God, the other night," because it used to play right up to the news.
Yeah.
She said, apparently there was this night where she just, because her makeup was all done and there were little tears in her eyes, and it was hard for her to keep a straight face because the last question in the program had been, read out. It was agony aunt stuff, and this person had written in and said, her husband was, all kinds of things, and they were all so worthy on that program, and they'd done research. I never used to research them. I used to read the letter and think, how would I answer it, rather than read the letter and think, Google that. And they would say, well, what you must do is I've got some numbers for you to call, and I just said, poison them. And then the program ended. Last words in the show, poison them.
This is on news with Judy Bailey and the Sting starts playing.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So we're on Breakfast. We've done you do that. It's a big job. It's probably the one that catapults you into everybody's living room at some point or another.
Yeah.
And when that ended, and yeah, it ended. You stepped down, and yes, there's a lot of things that people will always jump to remember, and I'm adding to that by discussing it. But does that, because as you said, there's every day for however many years, and every morning, does it mildly, semi, or not at all irk you that that's what people go to at times? Like,
no, because I think there are plenty of people that realised, how much entertainment there was over that period of time. It doesn't bother me. And, when you move on from things, it's almost inevitably because it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And I know there are a lot of people who look at people that have held the same job down for a long, 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 long time and think, oh, God, how successful are they? There's a flip side to that. Maybe not very successful at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That is an interesting way to look at it.
Every time a door closes behind you, there's an opportunity, and sometimes people need to have a little bit of a push to explore other things. And if you've got the right view, if you've got the right outlook, if you see it as an opportunity, even if it's a forced opportunity, it's an opportunity to shake yourself up. Because most people don't live today. Most people are living for tomorrow. You are. I am to a small degree, but at my age, if I live for tomorrow, I might be very disappointed. But what I mean by that is, people will say, as soon as the kids have left school, we're going to do that thing. As soon as I've paid the house off, we're going to do that thing. Well, I'm only going to stay in this job until the kids have left school, or I'm only going to stay in this job until we've paid the car off. There's all of those things. So basically what you're saying is, I'm not going to live yet.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to do? There's lots I want to do, but I'm not going to do it now. I'm just going to keep doing this shit I don't want to do, because of this, that, or the other. And some of those things are, they're reasonable. It's reasonable to say, kids need a little bit of stability and that, but they also need to be dragged out of school and said, we've sold the house and bought a boat. We're going to homeschool you. I didn't even go to university, but I'm going to homeschool you.
Do you think your take on that, or that sort of view, comes from your parents splitting, you going back over to the other side of the world,
maybe,
and sort of being thrust into a really poor lifestyle for a period of time, and then just sort of having to figure shit out as you grew up?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
I think that, it's hard to know where you get your sort of locked in psyche from, but I think from being very poor, but having experienced prior to that what would have been considered to be an extraordinarily affluent lifestyle, given that I was living in a tenement block in the worst part of Bristol, with like zero money, but I had lived this previous life. And so I basically was in my head, I had all of these firm beliefs that even now they were so firmly held by me, and I'm sure they weren't true, but I'm saying that slightly quizzically because I held those views so firmly that even now, years and years later, sensible me thinks, I wonder if there is a possibility that was true. Like the fact that I was a very distant member of the royal family. I'd convinced myself of that. The stories I used to tell at school when people were laughing at the fact that I had sandals because we didn't have enough money to get me proper shoes and things like that. The stories I used to tell to back up the reasons behind that.
It got them, they believed you.
Yeah. And then I started to believe them. And so I was leading this grand life in my head. So I was going back to a palace when I was going to Frankham House in Bristol, and passing all the derelicts and,
So the imagination is the thing that's
theatre.
sort of probably theatre from day dot.
And that's what you've got to say to people with children. The worst thing you can do for your children really is to make them grow up too quickly. Anything you do that makes them grow up too quickly, I think, is a travesty. And keeping the magic alive for as long as you possibly can, I think is just so important. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that separates you, much more so than intellect, is the theatre in your mind, being broader vision, being interested in things. That's one of the most important things a person can have. And I think an awful lot of what we do now takes that away. We simplify things, you know. Less is actually less.
Put that on a t-shirt, eh?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to play. I want to ask you who is Paul Henry, and that may have evolved over the years. I wanted to play, and I want to know if anyone ever gives you their views on who you are, and when the last time you sort of got any fan mail like this. This is the year is 2010. You've just won Personality of the Year.
People's choice.
People's choice. So, wait, let me get this ready for everybody. This is brilliant, by the way. This is a brilliant piece of fan mail. So, for everyone listening and watching.
Henry, you were the most insulting little self-conceited little mongrel prick on TV. I would love Susan Boyle to shit on your ugly face. Pamela Anderson to give you AIDS, David Hasselhoff to punch you on the nose, preferably before Susan shits on you. And the writer, and I can't credit him or her because they haven't put their name on this letter, ends with the, I think, quite memorable line. You fucking poofter, pommy mongrel prick. Die, you cunt.
Now,
I said the C word there, and I didn't realise that was televised. It was actually televised. I had no idea that event was televised.
wow. Well, there you go. That one looked like it was being filmed on a potato as well, just from my one. Now, okay. So you can laugh. You laughed. Everyone laughed. Fundamentally, though, the fact that someone took so much time to be very creative and also not only write it, find an envelope, put it in an envelope, stick it in the post, and send it to your place of work. Do you see?
And it was a proper, I didn't get a lot of mail. No, that's not true. I got a lot of mail, so they didn't send me very much. But I used to say to them, what I want you to do, when I say they didn't, TVNZ. So it would all come in and then it would go somewhere, I don't know where. But it was a phenomenal amount and I wouldn't have had time to look through it. But I used to say to them, what I want you to do is just give me a selection of the mail each week, just at random, so that I've got a vague idea. And when I open that, even just from the writing, the spider writing on the envelope, I thought, this is going to be a doozy, the whole thing about the envelope. And I read it and I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I cannot throw this away. This is just too good.
Yeah.
My favourite line in there? Preferably before Susan shits on you. It's like there's all of these things, but they've actually qualified that one. I want them done in a particular order.
I think, as I say, we can laugh because I think. I mean, I don't know whether you've thought that much about those descriptions of you, because I remember my favourite piece of trolling, and it wasn't a letter, but it was on the Breakfast Facebook page, and it was, she looks like Christian Cullen with a wig and lippy on. And I actually thought that was hilarious because I thought, how much time have you spent sitting there thinking about the fact that that's what you think I look like? And I found it funny. Obviously, it's, the issue with online bullying and whatnot is a whole other kettle of fish.
But outrage is an extraordinary emotion. People get an awful lot of satisfaction out of outrage, more than they do out of humour. If you can engender outrage in someone to the point that they will write that down with their poison little fingers and their poison little pens and mail it off and invest in a stamp. And now, of course, it's so much easier. You don't have to spend so much, but you still have to invest in time. For them to do that, you have truly entertained those people.
Yeah, that's right. Do you think the behaviour's acceptable, though? I mean, is that acceptable?
It's harmless, isn't it?
I don't know, is it?
It's harmless.
You reckon?
Yeah, well, I reckon if you do a job like this, you open yourself up for it. You become a public person. You become public property.
You think it's fair game?
Yes, I do, But I think that doesn't mean that you can't step across a line.
Right.
Because in everything there are lines, but that doesn't step across a line. It's great.
Your letter doesn't step
It's
across.
fantastic.
Die, you... Oh.
On a number of occasions, I've received bullets in the mail. Now, I think,
Surely
for
that's...
me,
That's over.
I think that's over.
I'm pretty sure that's over.
I'm pretty sure that's over. Well, for no other reason than it is actually technically against the law. So for that reason, it's pretty safe to say a line's been crossed.
Yeah. But also family and
Oh,
invasion of privacy.
Yeah. I mean, that's anything that involves your family because they haven't put themselves forward and made themselves public. Public, personalities, public property to a degree, then that is across the line. Yeah.
Now, ultimately, I just want, my motive, I wanted to play it because you also read it out so beautifully and it was fantastic. But I want to come back to the question, which is, I mean, amidst all of the people that might have written about you, written to you, thought about you, who is Paul Henry? Like, if you were describing yourself in a really just simple way on a PowerPoint presentation, who are you?
I'm a hermit, so I would much rather be sitting on my own somewhere with maybe a book, probably a magazine, because books are so long, aren't they? I read maybe, I don't know, I'll say 7 books a year, and I live with someone who reads 7 books a week. I read probably 6, 7 books a year, but I like reading things. I don't like unfinished business, which is why I don't like starting a book unless I'm going to read it. I'm obsessive compulsive, so I really enjoy my own company. I don't like crowds. I don't like meeting people. I don't like going out. If there are going to be crowds or I'm going to have to meet people. I'm obsessive compulsive in some things. That fits in with my reading as well. If I pick up a book, I have to read every word. I mean, every word, including how many offices the publisher has and where they're located, the addresses, the numbers.
On the thing.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
like your book is here.
Yes.
Which wasn't a coincidence, of course. Now, if
It matches your shoes,
if
by
I
the
was
way.
going to read this book, what I would do, I mean, this is really letting you into my crazy life.
Yeah.
But what I would do, just to quickly speed things through, is I would turn to the contents and I'd just quickly read all the numbers.
Oh, wow.
No, it's not much contents. But I'd quickly scan down and read all the numbers.
Yeah.
Everything. And I have to read it as it goes. So I'm not just going to read, the preface.
Yeah.
How to read this book. 1. I've got to read them all, then turn the page.
Right.
And then read all of that.
Okay.
But I know mostly, who books are dedicated to, by which authors, and that's one reason why I don't pick books up very often. Damn, I'm in this thing now.
You can have that one. That's
Thank
why
you.
it's there.
Is it good?
Yeah, I actually think you'll enjoy it. I actually do. Because I think...
Kerry Woodham liked it. And, I don't... Because you printed what she said on the cover.
I did. No, I think you will because, look, I think there is... I know that you think it's mad that I run and I think it's weird that you like to spend time on a boat all that time. But I think there is a little similarity, and that is living a full life. I really... I think it is such a waste not to live a full life. And
everyone's version of full is quite different. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. But you love to travel. I think you've probably, even though you've described yourself as a hermit, probably quite an adventurous hermit, though, would we say?
Yes. So, I don't like going out if I know I'm going to have to meet people.
And let's pause on that bit. Is there some sort of introvert in you, or you just can't be fucked?
It's possibly a combination.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I really, you go to events. I mean, I try to go to as few events as I possibly can. And you go to events and people are just mindless. The talk is mindless, and you say things like, oh, where have you come from tonight? I don't give a shit, But it's actually easier to ask you mindless questions and pretend I'm interested in your mindless answers than it is to move on to someone else and start from scratch. Oh, where did you come from?
Busy day?
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Okay, so we're...
Like someone asked me, I got an invitation to go on a podcast yesterday. literally yesterday. And they wrote this invitation. They sent this thing to me. I was in a cafe, just hunkered down, drinking a coffee. And I opened it up, and it was this invitation to go on a podcast about some bloomin' thing. And they wrote the invitation. Then they sent a separate message after it, a separate text. And it was something like, opportunities like this don't come along very often. And I thought, oh, well, point of difference. Point of difference. So I just wrote back, thank God.
Did you really?
Yeah. And to their great credit, quite a considerable number of hours later, they sent back, ha, ha, ha. So they got it. Because I wasn't trying to be mean, but at the same time, if you don't want to do it, just say, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
What annoys me is people that think they should explain that they don't want to do something. And so they won't say, I don't want to do it. They'll say, oh, if only I could, but,
Yeah.
if only I wasn't having an operation on my leg next week. Is there any, sometimes people who just don't want to do something will say, oh, is there any chance you could do it at a different time? You know what I mean? It's much better to say, I don't want to do it.
Well, I guess that's about people learning about the power of saying no is just as strong as the power of saying yes, right?
Yeah.
But
do you know what I carry with me? Oh, I haven't got my phone here.
What is it though? Do you want me to go get it?
Oh, it's a letter. It's just the best letter.
Can I get it? Can I get your phone for you?
I read it out once. It's over there in that abysmally covered teal case.
Oh my God! I would not have picked you. What is this?
Yeah. What is that?
This?
What is that?
I thought you were quite styly.
Yeah.
And
well, I am quite styly, but.
Oh, wow.
It's absolutely stuffed with shit. And I've never done this before, but I'm not carrying my wallet with me very much. And so the credit card went in. I'm going to go down and buy a plant after this to take up the farm. So I've got the farmer's card.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit.
Rewards cards.
I spend so much money there, and you go in and they say, oh, well, there's nothing on there at the moment. And you think, really?
There never
Why
is.
is that then? Apparently every 6 months they expire.
Yeah.
Every 6 months. Who made that rule up?
Well, that's
bastards.
For everyone, just in case you're not watching but you're listening, Paul's phone is in a boomer case.
No, it is.
No, there's no other way to describe it. It's in you've got a boomer case, and it's like a.
It's very easy to see when it's sat down, though.
Yeah.
You didn't have to shuffle around in the dark for long.
No, gosh, I really didn't. Super gold cards in there. What other cards are in there?
Super gold.
I know, because you're 64. Have you been on? All you need to do is make some sandwiches and head over to Waiheke on the ferry.
No, I know, but there's a problem. You think that because you're not old enough to know different. When you get to my age, you realise that these things have to be activated. Like I'm never going to activate this little puppy. You've got to buy. So you've got to go and you've got to buy a hop card, whatever that is. Well, I'm not going to buy a hop card. It's supposed to be free, right? You've got to buy a hop card.
But it's still in there.
Well, it's still in there because I think one day, sometime it might come in handy. Do you think?
Not if you don't activate it, Paul.
Well, not on the ferry or on the bus. Well, I'm not going to get on a bus. Don't get me wrong. I'm never going to get on a bus. But on the ferry to Waiheke. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and okay. So we've got this.
So I carry this letter around, right?
Oh, please, yes.
Occasionally I read it out. If I'm talking to someone I can be bothered with, I will read it out.
Here we go. Oh my God! Now he's doing that. Oh my God! Look at this.
So
this is going.
So I'm doing old man scrolling.
I know you are. This is beautiful.
That's okay. That's okay. What's that lovely saying? Cool your jets. Do you like that saying?
Cool your jets.
Cool your jets.
That's
great.
That
When someone goes, look, what are you saying? Like, oh, cool your jets. It's quite good, isn't it? Okay, now I've got tears in my eyes, and it's not a very good quality. Okay, so this is a letter from Harold Pinter to Sir Tom Stoppard.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Both men of considerable words.
Yes.
Sir Tom Stoppard, Royal National Theatre, South Bank, London. Dear Tom, thank you for your invitation to host a fundraising dinner in a private room of a top London hotel. I would rather die. All the best, Harold. Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
Well, you can't come back from that.
No. And also, Tom would get that and he'd think, oh, well, don't need to write to Harold again. You know, he'd think, great, thanks, Harold. You know, he didn't say, unfortunately, I should be doing a tour of Kazakhstan that month. You know?
I'd rather die.
I'd rather die.
Well, I mean, does he have the flexibility to be able to just... I don't think I could say that to anyone.
We'll practice.
No, I don't know. I mean,
when is the last time, Brodie, that you apologised for not being available to do something you just didn't want to do?
probably last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then those times that you make up crazy things like, oh, how am I going to say no? Just say you don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. You know, and people say, oh, would you like to come to our fete? No. No, I don't want to come to your fete. Why would you even think I'd want to come to your fete? What you really should say, because they're lying as well, they're playing a game. What they really want to say is, it'd be great if you could come to the fete because we might be able to get some more money, or we might do this, or we might do that. We just want you to come there. We don't value your time at all. To us, your time is worth shit.
Yes.
Come to our stupid bloody fete. I don't want to.
Have you been asked to go to a fete? I'm actually partial to a fete.
I'm sure I've been asked to go to. No, it's different.
I know.
You know, you can easily say I'm partial to a fete. If I'm passing a fete and
a Christmas fete actually is like.
Wait, is that such a thing? A Christmas fete?
Yeah.
That's
Where
just
did
a
we
fete at Christmas.
Oh, is it? Is a fete only reserved for Christmas?
No, but what a Christmas fete implies that there's some Christmas theme to the fete, whereas I think you're just talking about a fete at Christmas.
Because I did quite often go to the Culverden Christmas fete. I'm sure it was the Culverden Christmas fete.
Well, they might have called it that, and I think all they're saying is it's the Culverden fete. It's on at Christmas.
Okay, I'm just going to go back. I know that this is
Where's Culverden? I've heard
North
of it.
Canterbury.
Oh, right. Oh, nice. That's a nice part of the world.
Yeah.
That is a nice part of the world.
So nice things at the Culverden Christmas fete.
Yeah.
But wait, just to go back to a mundane point. But are there fetes that are at other times of the year?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there are?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, most fetes, one way or another, most fetes are all about fundraising.
Yeah, okay.
You know, no one just thinks, oh, what are we going to do next Wednesday? Let's have a fete. But they do sometimes think, shit, I've got no money. Ooh, let's have a fete.
Now I actually
Get people to bob for apples.
now I actually really want to go to one. It's been
Yeah, I must admit, it's seeming more appealing.
yeah, because they are like
But the
a country
Culverden fete would have been
yeah.
what? It would have been like a few kids with pets. It
was quite
small
it was posh
horses.
fete. It was a posh fete.
What's that then?
Well, just nice, nice, Pims. You could have a Pims at the Culverden fete and nice sort of markets and a band playing and whatnot.
Oh, it's a bit la-di-da.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not like a AMP show. That's what you.
Right.
What
Well, yeah, because fetes quite often do have a strong AMP element.
Anyway.
You can edit this shit
No,
out.
I'm not. People,
okay.
Yeah, Jo Kane loves a fete.
Really, does she?
She gets in it. Or she loves a market.
Yeah.
I can't stand markets. I'd rather shit in my hands and clap than go to a market.
Shit in my hands and clap.
That's what we could say in the email instead of I'd rather die. I'd rather shit in my hands and clap than come to your
Yeah,
fete.
actually, you could say that. But it's important because did you notice that Harold Pinter followed up "I'd rather die" with something like, what is it? All the best.
All the best.
Yeah, which I think because you're not personalising it to them. You're personalising it to you. I would rather die.
Yeah.
How do you really feel? Oh, I don't need to answer that because I've already said I'd rather die. I'm saving you time.
Yeah.
Because I respect your time like you don't respect mine.
Yeah. Good. That's good. We can all take that, I think, to learn from. I don't know if I can do it quite just yet, but maybe I will get to a point in my
And I
career
think
where
there
I
is,
feel...
yeah, I think it's not easy to do.
No.
And I do it a bit.
Yeah.
And it's still not always easy. Sometimes you've got to, man, you sit there looking at it and you think, press send. But there's always a huge relief when you do.
When you've done it.
Because what you've done is told the truth.
Yeah.
And if the people that have asked you are offended, then that genuinely means they give a shit about your time.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't care about you.
Yeah. We'll park fates for a moment. Do
Do you want to buy Girl Guide biscuits? No.
No.
I don't want your Girl Guide biscuits.
I don't think they're around. Are they? I don't know.
I don't know. Hopefully not. You know, do you want to support? Oh, my daughter is swimming 700,000 laps of the pool because she wants to raise money for someone whose wheel broke off the back of their bicycle. Would you sponsor her? No. No, I wouldn't.
No, thank you.
No.
Thank you.
I'd rather die. All the best.
It's the all the best. It is the all the best, actually.
It cuts to the chase, doesn't it?
It is the all the best. A bit that I want to just pick your brain on is being a foreign correspondent. And boy, oh boy, there's some yarns in the mix of that.
Yeah.
Obviously being detained in Iraq. Now, I've heard you tell the story, but I can't. I need to go into it because
don't ask for too much detail because I can barely remember it.
Well, it sounded
Honestly,
like you were so stupid.
Do you know what's happened now? I've got to the age and the level of caring that I find it hard to even think about the details to formulate an answer.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, quite often you did it once already. Say, when was that? Was that 2004? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you need to activate your gold card.
Because as soon as you start thinking, you think, oh, well, so what? It's more than just yes.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, but well, I mean, I heard the story about you were in Jordan.
Yep.
And it was this. Well, actually, no, I can't. I'm assuming it's the war in 1990, 91, maybe.
Yeah, things were going. Years.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Gulf War. It was when things were really heating up and we were on the brink of another war.
Right.
So the country had shut down. Iraq had shut all of its borders. And they were taking human shields and preparing for another battle.
You're in Jordan and you're waiting for days to try and get into Iraq, and then you and a Finnish dude just get creative and hire a dude.
We weren't going to get in. We were
No.
not going to get a visa to go in because we couldn't bribe. What was the guy's name in the Iraqi embassy in Jordan, in Amman? His name was something like, God, it was emblazoned on my mind because we used to ask for him every day, is it possible to see Mr. It was something like Habib or something like that. And that's how they used to say it. Oh, you'll need to see Mr. Habib. And occasionally we'd see him in his Mercedes-Benz arriving in the security compound and leaving. But
never
and when
coming
you'd
to see you.
Mr. Habib leave, you'd think, oh, that's another day down the tubes. But at the end of the day, what you had to do, and this is what the BBC were doing and CNN and that, they were just firing huge briefcases full of cash.
Right.
And the Finnish journalist and me, and we met there sitting in this crappy room at the Iraqi embassy in Amman day after day after day. And we would start talking, and both of us came to the conclusion that neither of us were going to get in, and neither of us worked for people who had the kind of money that was going to get us in. So we just went.
Yeah, which is...
It's that whole ask for forgiveness, not permission. We had been sitting there for weeks asking for permission. So we thought, we'll flip it, get there and ask for forgiveness. But that isn't a good idea when you're dealing with quite aggressive people.
Well, I was going to say that's sort of fine when you're firing off an email, but when you're in the
war.
Middle East and trying to get to a country that's broken out in war, I don't know if that is the...
No, it wasn't. It
No,
wasn't.
yeah.
No, it wasn't.
So you got over there, you got detained by Iraqi authorities and got the shit beaten out of you. When the shit's getting beaten out of you, are you thinking, I'm gonna die?
Yeah, well. So what happened is we were getting close to the people that have been there will know that there's just this road through the desert, and it's just desert, and there's this long, reasonably sound road through the desert, and at the side of the road it's just desert, in Jordan, and so we were driving down there. We had a driver in a big 4-wheel drive, and at night you could see the road because there are no other roads. It's just one road. You could see the road because it was a constant line of oil tankers, which Hussein was selling the oil to Jordan, and then the tankers were going back empty. So constant Like, so you had this ribbon of lights. So when we got to about 10 miles away, our cunning plan was that we just drive, because we were in a big four-wheel drive, and it's just desert. There are a few rocks, but not too many. So we thought we'll just drive off the road, scooch around the side, and get back on the road in Iraq. I mean, flawless.
Yeah.
Flawless. So we scooched around, but we didn't know exactly where we were, but we could see this ribbon of, and you could see the collection where they were sort of stopped in the horizon through binoculars. You could see where the border was. So you roughly knew which country you were in, just sort of roughly. Anyway, long story short, to avoid capture, we turned the lights off on the four-wheel drive. That makes sense. Anyone would do that. That's just logic. Only an idiot tries to break into a country with headlights on. So we turned the lights off. Well, bugger me if we didn't stumble into an Iraqi military camp.
That'll get you.
And we were surrounded by guys. Long story short, and it was quite a long story as it played out. Long story short, I said to this guy who was with me, the Finnish journalist, I said, we're in deep shit here. I said, just apologise, just be really nice. You know, just, if you've got money, just say, God, what were we thinking? You know, you can't think of a story. And also, are they even going to speak English? You know, because we don't know how low down in the ranks these people are. What you do know is they haven't been paid for months and months and months. They haven't seen their family for months and months and months. And there's much more paperwork if you keep the people alive than if you kill them. You know? That was always my overriding view when I was a foreign correspondent, because essentially I was a war correspondent in Africa and all around just, you know, correspondent for hire. And that was the thing. In these sort of guerrilla-type war situations, it is always there's less paperwork if you kill the person standing in front of you. So he decided to try and enact the Geneva Convention. And he was very, very, very badly manhandled. Beaten very badly. I never saw him again. They could barely hit me for my apologies. So I was roughed up, and to the best of my knowledge, we were both taken to but I'm not sure he was. Never saw the driver again. Ended up in this compound at this military checkpoint, and I was detained there while they tried to work out what to do with me.
So you never saw the journo or the driver again? You'd have no idea?
I mean, I can't even begin to imagine the driver would have got out of it alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also...
But who knows? Who knows? I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe he was just having a good old laugh. You know, maybe he knew that it was a military base and he was just taking us there.
And no idea of the other old mate?
No. But I mean, he was really silly. He became a little bit belligerent. I mean, you know, there are times to quote, I'm sure there are times to quote the Geneva Convention, but that is not one of them.
Yeah. So that's a wild yarn, and obviously there's more where that came from. I was fascinated to hear about your experience in Cambodia, and because one of the things that I found fascinating going there is, I mean, that's so recent, and the horrors that the people there experienced are actually sort of unfathomable. And you got yourself in a bit of danger there, and obviously other places like Bosnia and war-torn places. Because
the whole thing is, as a journalist operating on your own, how are you going to get a better story than huge teams that are going in there? Because I was up against BBC teams, particularly the BBC and CNN. And you know, Arnett and people like that would go in there, but by the time they went in there, all the groundwork had been done. They had safe houses set up, they had broadcasting facilities. I had none of that, you know. And so for me to get better stories, better yarns, I just had to get a little bit closer. And in Cambodia, it was quite interesting because the war was being waged not in Phnom Penh, although that was a bit dodgy at the time, but, you know, out in the outskirts, Pai Lin, Ing Sari sort of had his own private army in Pai Lin. And so I thought, well, I've got to get there. it was the last hurrah for the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah.
I'm starting to slightly forget different aspects of it, but Pol Pot was still alive at the time.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things I was going to do is I thought, shall I go and see if I can get an interview with Pol Pot? Now, several people had tried. None of them had been seen again. Wow. And I knew roughly where he was. Everyone knew roughly where he was. But in the end, I didn't try and do that. But I remember bumping in on a track to fighting. I remember bumping into, he was sort of coming out, a Time photographer who I'd met at the Foreign Correspondents Club in Phnom Penh about a week earlier. And he said, "Where the hell are you going?" And I said, "I'm just going to go down here." Now, there were lots of Cambodians fleeing. There was a lot of gunfight. There were a lot of deaths. Anyway, he got down on his knees and started feeling my legs. I said, "What the hell are you doing?" He said, "Remember, I'm the last person that will ever feel your legs." You know, the whole place riddled with mines. And you'd hear the explosions going off as people, you know, when you are being chased there through the bush or through tracks and that, it's almost a slow motion situation because you don't want to trigger a mine, but neither do the people chasing you. And the place is so heavily mined. Anyway, in the end, I went a little bit further down, got an incredible story with these people that were leaving a village. Their entire lives had been completely destroyed, and then filled my truck. I'd rented this with a local driver and translator. I'd rented this little, it was like a Toyota Hi-Ace or some open deck little truck. And in the end, we got, I can remember counting at the time, it was some extraordinary number, like 24 people that we evacuated from this area, saved their lives, you know, got them out. This really old, scraggy woman who was, you know, maybe as old as Joe Kane, I don't know, but this really old, scraggy woman who these people in this time, they were all going to be killed, where they were, you know, little kids and old people, they were all going to be killed, and we had to race off. We heard the gunfire and everything, and yet these people that had lost everything were still helping this scraggy old lady onto the back of this truck. You know, the level of humanity that you see where it's hard to believe there can be any humanity left is extraordinary.
When you were there working as a team of one, what, like, and I mean, because in this day and age, you couldn't really do that. Well, I mean, gosh, I'm just thinking about like health and safety now and forms that have to be filled out and all of that kind of stuff. But like when the logistics of it, so would you, this is me geeking out now, so if you were like, okay, would you say, oh, well, I'll go here and get the story, and then would you sell it? Or did
Yes, yeah.
So you had to kind of take a punt on yourself and back yourself, fund it? Yeah.
But I had some people that I regularly supplied stuff to.
Yeah.
So in New Zealand, Derek Lowe, who was the CEO of Radio Pacific, so they paid me a regular fee each month.
Yeah.
And they had exclusivity in New Zealand. And so I used to do it like an adventure. I would sell it like an adventure on the radio there. And then while I was there, I would sell stuff to 2UE or to The Guardian in London. And there are agencies, like in England, there was an agency that I used to ship stuff to. It was very hard because it was sort of pre-internet. The internet was just, I didn't use the internet, but I'd heard tell that some new wonderful thing was going to happen. But we had satellite phones, but the cost of transmitting a photograph, the cost of having a conversation was astronomical, but transmitting a photograph was just out of reach for me. That was the big players were able to do that. So it was tough when you were in really isolated places to get your story out.
Was it lonely?
It was always too exciting for it to be lonely, really. You know, it was pretty exciting. You know, and you do it and people think, oh, you must be brave or you must be stupid. That was the two things people used to think.
Iraq was stupid.
Actually, well, stupid decisions were made, but you're not there for, I mean, it's a way you make money, but you're not there. I mean, it's no way is it worth risking your life for the kind of money I got paid. And the risks get greater and greater and greater, and you take more and more risks because it's exciting. It's really exciting.
And was there always the as you said with the time photographer and that, and you but you also being on your own, always having to get a little bit further to beat the big guys at the story, is that also compelled by, you know, in these times where the shit's hitting the fan in places, that is now more than ever where journalists need to be there. So were you, I mean, brave, whatever people think, stupid, whatever people think, but was the driving force always we have to get in there and tell the story of the scraggly old lady and the people that have piled up on the car? And
I think you got great reports on humanity, the state of humanity from things like that. You don't get a great perspective on a crisis from someone like me. I remember once it was when I was in Iraq, and a host of a program said to me, and it's being reported that the Americans have sent a squadron of stealth jets. And that's not what I was there to do. I mean, I could easily go to Amman and watch CNN and write all the details down and then just tell it, you know. But actually, those details are all coming into New Zealand anyway. The point of having someone like me, you know, that lone journalist, is that you can actually say what it smells like. You know, you can say how the screams sound. You can talk about the old woman and the level of humanity there is when they've lost everything. You can paint a picture of everyone's war, you know, in a way that people can truly understand the horror of it or the humanity of it or the wonder of the situation. It's not your job to go there and give the complete picture of the crisis. You know, what happened today in you know, the Pentagon? Well, I actually don't know because I'm in a jungle, you know, so if you're going to ask me those questions, you've got the wrong guy.
Do you, how often are you consuming news today?
Now?
Yeah.
Well, all the time.
Yeah.
I suppose like most people are, but I just picked up a book on what is it called? It's a famous Michener book on the, and I've read it twice already and forgotten it all, I think, or almost all of it. So I've just picked it up to read it again. It's on the American system of government,
right?
Which is extraordinarily complicated.
Yeah.
Like it is, the machinations are almost wonderful, but very hard to remember if you're not living it. So I'm very interested in news and I'm very interested in those kinds of things. But I'm very interested, if this makes sense, I'm very interested in a much more peripheral way than I used to be.
Yeah.
I now appreciate that there is very little we can do to change anything.
That's quite grim.
Well, it's quite grim if it's something that desperately needs changing. But I mean, look at all the things that desperately need changing. Have they been changed? You know, and you talk about the horrendous recent time horrors in Cambodia, but much more recently than that, probably today, equally horrific things are happening, perhaps on a slightly smaller scale in terms of numbers on an hourly basis, but equally horrific.
Yeah, that's again grim, but accurate point.
I mean, we're horrendous animals, human beings.
Thank you.
We are horrendous animals.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think we're monsters. We're absolute monsters. They always, you know, there's that joke like, this is why we can't have nice things. It's like, we don't deserve the nice things. I'm glad we agree on that.
We agree on that.
Palm Springs Paul.
Yes.
So Palm Springs Paul, when did you first go to Palm Springs and go, this is a bit of me?
Do you know, I remember years ago, here's the thing about Palm Springs. Pretty much everyone in the developed world's heard of it. In fact, I think it's possibly the smallest place known loosely to one degree or another by more people than any other small place. I mean, the population of Palm Springs is 43,000.
Small.
Small.
Yeah.
Small. It's a little desert city. And so I'd heard of it, and I'd heard about the Hollywood link, you know, that wonderful, because it's theatre, you know, and I love theatre. I love the fact that I go to the Purple Room to drink when I'm there. It's my favourite bar, or one of my favourite bars, and I go there to drink, and I sit there in a seat that would have been occupied by Desi Arnaz, Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz lived at where the Purple Room is in the Trinidad motel for 3 months while they were building their house. It is where the Rat Pack first performed on stage, you know. So you're just soaking all of that. So I'd heard of all of this. Anyway, I was doing a road trip, because one of the things I love about the States is road trips, many years ago. And I drove down and I was staying in this spa or something like that in this place in the hills. It was late at night, and I was reasonably late. And I said to the owner, I said, I need to, you know, I want to go out to a restaurant. Are there any good restaurants nearby? And he said, oh, there are. You don't need to go into Palm Springs. And I said, what? He said, you don't need to go into Palm Springs. I said, are we close to Palm Springs? And he said, oh, it's about 20 minutes down the road. And so I said, oh, I'm going to Palm Springs. And as I drove in, it was dark. As I drove in, I thought, God, this place is fabulous. Uplit palm trees line the road. You know, you're right at the bottom of the mountains, and the rest of it's just flat desert with straight roads all lined with palm trees. It's just fabulous. And the history is spectacular. But 5 minutes down from my house is the house, Liberace's house, where he died of AIDS, you know, and still, even though it's been bought and sold multiple times, the letterbox is a little grand piano. There are musical notes. The steel gates are musical notes. It's got, I think, Plaza de Liberace on the little sign on the wall. You know, there's so much of that. Barbara Streisand's holiday home is just down the road. Matt Damon has a house just down the road. One of the most photographed private residences in the world, the Kaufman House, is on the road that my house is on, and that house is considered to be the birthplace of mid-century modern architecture, and it's the house where that famous photograph, which if you close your eyes you'll be able to see it in your head. It's got the two sort of glamorous, sort of 30-year-old women in their slacks sitting on recliners next to a swimming pool. It's a very Aaron Slim's photo. It's Slim Aaron's, but very famous photograph, and that was taken at that house just down the road. It's fantastic.
So that I can hear why you love it. And you obviously have said about the road trips in America, but also America sort of has it's a place that you have a lot of passion for. And why is that?
I suppose because it's the backdrop to our lives. It was extraordinary when you said earlier that you went at Christmas for the first time ever, because it is it's our reference points. Like certain things in England, particularly London, are our reference points. But there is so much about it that is, like Palm Springs as an example. You know, Hollywood, the names, the places. You know, Joshua Tree, 29 Palms, Route 66. You know, Cadillacs. I mean, it just is so evocative. Just the names. Ford, slightly less so. But, you know, still, at least it's not Toyota. Do you know what I mean? And so, you know, you drive these endless rambles of hills on a massive scale. You know, valleys that you could fit New Zealand into. Vistas that just open up. There's just down the road, well, there's a back, I've told this so many times, but from my house there's about 3 or 4 different fabulous drives to Las Vegas. And I sort of always think to myself, I get excited before I go each time. It's only about 4.5 hour drive. I've got a great Mustang over there in my garage. And before I go, I always think, oh, which way will I go? Which way will I come back? You know, and there are like these world-class things that you stop at. That many of them are jokes. You know, the biggest Chevron service station in the world. I mean, but you go there, and every time I go there, I think, wow, 169 pumps.
Is that how many there are?
I think it's about that.
Whoa!
I mean, they've got a block of toilets. They've got like 67 toilets in one block.
They love large.
They love a toilet.
Large.
They all love a toilet.
And they
there.
do good toilets. No, I was really impressed.
You're never far away from a toilet in the States.
And they're efficient. And they flush well.
Yep.
And they're actually often always clean.
Yep.
We were really impressed by that.
In the world's largest Chevron service station, which is in a town called Jean, basically is the town called Jean. These brothers bought it. Their company's called the Terribles, and they are involved in service stations, casinos, and hotels. That's their thing. And often those things mix. You've got slot machines in the service stations and the hotels. But they have this drinks bar, which looks to be about a kilometre long. You know, it's a wonder that Americans are as large as they are, because they're always constantly on the prowl for food. And they have this drinks bar, and it starts with all these different coffees with this artificial milk, which is wonderful. Have you tried it? It's got like caramel milk. It's not milk, and it never goes off. And it's just wonderful. It's just like a beautiful. If you run out of coffee, you just drink the caramel milk. But it's just so spectacular. And they've got all those different. So they've got 100 metres of those coffees. Then you've got all the soft drinks and everything. Then you've got the beers and wines in a service station. But tumbler of beer. And people are at the counter drinking their tumbler of beer.
Yeah, you can get alcohol everywhere, can't you?
It's fantastic.
It's quite funny because all of that is tacky as shit. It's all tacky.
Well, it depends what your definition of tacky is.
I found that side of it.
Here's you know how people say, "Oh, I don't like Vegas." You know, people love to not Vegas. Don't like it. It's all so fake. No, it's not. It's 100% authentic. It is Vegas.
Yeah.
It is Vegas. That's what Vegas is. Oh, yeah, but that's not the real Eiffel Tower. Did anyone try and pretend it was? It's a really good building designed to look like the Eiffel Tower. No one's pretending that really is Paris.
No.
No one's pretending that's Italy.
No.
And that's not Venice, Vegas is incredible. It's just a wonderful playground.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, and I feel that way about the whole tacky thing.
Okay.
It depends what you mean by tacky. If it's trying to be something other than it is, then maybe you can call it tacky, But it's just trying to be the biggest Chevron service station in the world. It's not trying to be anything else. No other claim to fame.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's fair. No, I was going to ask you what lures you to Vegas, because you'll laugh at this. I'd never been to America.
Yeah.
And then I went at Christmas time, had this amazing trip with Mum, and then I went back less than a month later to Vegas.
Hooked.
For the Warriors game.
Where did you stay?
At Vegas, the Park MGM. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gosh. And then I came back and went to Coachella. I went to America 3 times in 3 months.
You're hooked.
Aggressive.
Yeah.
But the fascinating thing about Vegas for me also is it's like I don't know any other place in the world where as an adult where all bets are off, excuse the pun. It's the most unhinged adult playground in the world, where you can do whatever you like and not be judged.
Yeah, it's certainly one of them. So you stayed at the Park MGM. So at the bottom of the Park MGM, did you have a pizza in that pizzeria?
In the big bit?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's Italian pizza. Like, that is world-class Italian pizza. That one of the greatest things about Vegas is the food.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're prepared to spend a bit of money, you will get world-class food. The shows. Again, if you're prepared to spend a bit of money, and not that much, you will get world-class shows that they can't put on anywhere else. Car at the MGM across the road, the MGM Grand. Car, which is the Cirque du Soleil production, right? So they built that theatre for that one performance, for that one show. So not just for Cirque du Soleil, but for that one show. The whole theatre was designed. The whole theatre is part of the set. They spent, I think it was $9 million US on the platform, on the stage, on one small component of that show. Now, to be able to do that, you have to guarantee you're going to get thousands and thousands of people paying to sit in seats twice a day, every day, for 10 years. And it's been there for longer than 10 years, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same at the Bellagio with O.
Yeah.
That whole theatre was designed for that one show. It's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I thought you were
No, it's ringing. It's vibrating.
Oh, it's ringing.
Yeah, who is it?
You don't need to. You don't need to open it.
No, it won't be someone that I'm only. Oh, I can't even see who it is.
Here we go. This is what surprised me the most about you today is that phone cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, it's still going.
I'm just not sure about that for you.
No, don't even worry. No, but that thing is, I don't care.
I know.
I mean, it's a weird thing to say I don't care, because I obviously wouldn't be wearing these shoes and this outfit if I completely didn't care.
Yeah.
Because this has come together. But But with the phone case, you know, I just don't care.
No, you're all good. Okay, what else we want to talk about? Oh, Nude Paul.
Yeah.
Nude Paul is still thriving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a time and place. I remember once, years and years ago, I was on probably promoting a book or something, and I went into The Edge, and they said, "Oh, and you're a nudist." And I said, "Yes, because I suppose I am." And they said, "Oh, take your clothes off." And I said, "That would be inappropriate." And they said, "But you're a nudist, you know?" I think people have for a start, they think nudists are weird. And I'm sure some nudists are weird, but then, you know.
People with clothes are weird too.
Yeah, God, yeah. Do you know the weirdest people? People with clothes on at a nudist place. That is weird. That is weird. What is that about? But no, you know, so I suppose I'm a nudist. I'm not a naturist, right?
Oh, that's activities?
That's where it's like a religion.
That's like you're out playing tennis and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
if your private parts aren't swinging wildly, something's wrong. Yeah, that is not me. The ones that, you know, oh, well, let's take our clothes off and go for a hike in the desert. No.
Chafing.
No. Chafing and cacti and, you know, it's no.
No.
But, you know, in terms of just swimming and lying in the sun and, you know,
Yeah.
it's just nice.
Do you are you sun smart?
Not as much as I should be.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I'm in a bit, you know.
Like an all year 10, don't you?
Yeah.
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 Okay, yacht, not boat. Yacht Paul.
Well, I don't know what definition are you.
Well, are you? Well, no, it's your.
It doesn't have sails, but still you would call it a motor yacht.
Okay.
Yacht is a much more sophisticated term.
Yacht Paul. Okay. Yacht Paul, what was the first time that you fell in love with being...
Always had boats. My dad used to always be around boats, and even though he wasn't around much, there's still that love of boats there. So always loved boats. I think when you don't have a boat, you desperately want one. Quite often when you've got one, you desperately want not to have it.
Right. And does that, you know how you said about being out on the blue and on the ocean and being at one with that, does that tie in with your hermit?
Well, it does, I suppose, in a way. Yeah, it does. Because you're out there and you know what you really do when you're doing blue water, and the definition of blue water means you're way out, you know, probably doing a crossing, almost inevitably doing a crossing. You know, there's a saying that your boat gets smaller the further out you go. And when you're really far out, your boat is very, very, very small, and so are you. And it really does put things into perspective, a little bit like America does. You know, when you're out in the back blocks and you roll over one range of mountains that it's taken you two and a half hours, you've seen them, you've finally got to them, you roll over, and it just spills out beyond that as far as the eye can see. And you think, you know, yeah, just passing through.
In the boat, and that's the same on the yacht.
Yeah.
Gin, Paul. Good gin.
That's just playing, though. The gin thing is just, when I say just playing, it's, you know, it's nice to do a few different things.
Yeah.
And I did wine, and then I thought, oh, gin. The tricky thing with wine is more of an art than gin. Because gin you can replicate. You get it right, and you can replicate it. You can't do that with wine. You get it right, and then you've got to start to get it right all over again with a different lot of grapes, you know.
The gin, though, fun fact for people was that when we did our season of Traitors, that was in the bar for us of the evenings. I think the night that I got murdered, I think they changed it to a two drink limit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did you not? You might not have heard about it. Yeah, because I don't know whether that happened.
I didn't involve myself in that side of things.
No.
But
after
I don't involve myself with anything that has a limit on drinking.
Yeah. Oh well, no. I think the first couple of nights there was no limit, and your gin was in there.
Well, could well be the reason that they had to change that.
I'd hazard a guess at that, but I love gin. I'm a big gin drinker. So
it's going off the boil now. Gin, you know, it was really hot, and it's moving slightly slower through. I'm not talking mine, I'm talking gin in general. So, you know, things have their heyday and sometimes they come back. Like, what is it with Aperol? You know, do you know how long Aperol's been around? So long. And then all of a sudden, about, would it have been 10 years ago?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it was like someone's invented this new crazy drink, and it was, the table talkers were everywhere in Europe, and Aperol Spritz.
I love an Aperol Spritz. Too. Same colour as your shoes as well.
Yeah.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
And farming, Paul.
Just love it.
Just
love it. It just plays to my, you know, I love looking at things grow. I just love looking at things grow. I fenced off all the dams on the property, and through my binoculars from one of the houses I can see it's just growing. Like, you know, Jesus is sorting it all out. You know, it used to be grazed, the water used to be fouled by the stock, and now, I don't know, at some stage Jesus has planted some stuff there because I didn't, and it's all just growing like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And the paradise ducks are in there, and the swans are in there, and people say, oh, you don't want those ducks, oh, those swans are terrible. Ah, fuck it. You know, there's nothing like a swan.
Yeah.
Is there? Royal bird.
Yeah, very regal.
Very regal.
Yeah, I do like a swan.
Apparently still, I think, look, this could be slightly wrong, but I think the Queen, dead, I know, so the King, owns all the swans in England. Yeah, the monarch owns all the swans.
I mean, I wouldn't put that past them.
That's worth looking
we
up.
can tap that one in.
Yeah. Which means I think if you kill a swan, it's almost treason. Still punishable by death.
Imagine.
I'm half making this up now. Only half.
Don't let. Hey, this is a nice way
Theatre.
to tie in the way that you used to be as a kid. Because if you were
Yeah.
telling that story as a
Yeah.
kid, the school kids would have believed you.
100%.
If you were talking to young Paul now, is there anything you'd tell him to do differently, or if you were giving young Paul advice, what would it be?
I'd be reluctant to advise young Paul because I wouldn't want to change the future, you know? I'd be reluctant. It's been a pretty good life. It hasn't been perfect, but if I told young Paul to do something differently, maybe the outcome would not be as good as, do you know what I mean? It's very, very dangerous to tamper. That's not an interesting answer, I know. I mean, I'd probably say try and get more interested in exercise, but do you know, it hasn't served me badly being sedentary. Not yet.
No health issues ever.
Oh, you know, no, not really. Not to speak of.
Not bad.
Not to speak of, yeah.
Did
Not
you ever smoke or anything?
At my age. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Not for very long. I smoked when I was a foreign correspondent the most, actually, because nothing diffuses a situation like saying to the person that is half pint going to kill you, do you mind if I have a cigarette?
Yeah, yeah.
I've done this multiple times. You get the cigarette out, right? And then you pull a cigarette, you offer it to them. This has happened to me multiple times, cutting the ice, you know, and these are dodgy situations. As soon as they accept a cigarette, you know they're not going to kill you. You know, you just know it. And then do you know what you do? It's all part of the theatre. Then you've got a cigarette in your mouth, they've got a cigarette in their mouths, and then you go, oh, do you have a... As soon as they've lit your cigarette, I mean, you're not going to kill someone who's... Unless you're a particularly nasty bloke.
Yeah.
You know, and it's usually blokes. You know, that's happened to me several times.
Wow. That's why you're here on the couch.
Yeah.
Darts when you were a foreign correspondent.
Yeah, I've saved my life a few
Yeah.
times with cigarettes. People say cigarettes will kill you. I think
Quite the
not.
contrary. I'll give you Kiwi Yarn's quick fire questions
Okay,
so
go.
you can get on with your day.
Go.
What kai is on the menu for your final feed?
Macaroni cheese. A really, really good macaroni
Like a
cheese.
real dirty, cheesy, slutty.
Real cheesy. No tomato because it's too watery. And people love to put bacon in it. And, you know, if it's a really good macaroni cheese, it doesn't need it. You know, that nice crust of cheese on the top. Not thick, but brown and definitely chewy. And then just the perfect amount. Oh,
Yeah.
a really good macaroni cheese. And this is my final meal, yeah?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter that I'm gluten-free and it's not going to go well.
Not going to go straight
From a
through
tummy
you.
point of view,
Oh,
because
yeah,
it's
that
not going to have a
'cause-
chance to go through me.
Yeah, and that would.
Well, unless it does. Depends if it's firing squad.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I wouldn't be wanting to clean that mess up.
Well, or you wouldn't want to delay it either, because otherwise you might shit yourself before you die.
And they say, oh, you could have a reprieve.
Oh,
I've
no.
just eaten the macaroni cheese. You know, we've postponed it to tomorrow. Oh, so I'll spend my entire last day on the toilet.
How'd you die? Well, I shit myself first.
Yeah.
You wouldn't read about it. You wouldn't believe it. Oh, boy. Have you ever shit yourself as an adult? That's not on the Kiwi Yarns quick fire questions.
No, I don't think I have. No.
Okay.
You know, there's that thing, and I've never done this, but You know that thing? I saw it in a movie once where this guy says to the guy that he's in some kind of art gallery or something like that. It's an opening of an art gallery. And this guy says to the other guy, he says, come on, we've got to go. And the guy says, oh, we've only just got here. He says, I've just shit myself. He coughed and he shit in his pants. Come on, we've got to go.
Okay, so you haven't.
I don't think I have. No. Yeah, I'd remember that, wouldn't I?
Yeah, I'm sure.
If it was years ago. No, I don't think I mean, I've had a few occasions where I've had to run.
Yeah. I just with you talking about the gluten and that made me think that maybe you had.
No.
No. Well, I tell you, if you were a runner, then you would have. That's why you're not a runner.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A runner's forever shitting themselves.
I have. No, I haven't
That's why they're running.
I haven't shit myself running, but I have nearly shit myself many times running.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And you are...
I don't even want to know why. No, there must be some physiological thing.
I think you're just bouncing around, and if you had kind of the wrong food...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
Can really ruin your day. Back on track, if I gave you a magic wand to change one thing in Aotearoa, what would it be?
Location.
Move it, we're moving it.
Yeah.
To somewhere warmer?
You know, I don't know about warmer, but how would it be if New Zealand was in the middle of the Med?
Yeah.
If we could,
awesome.
if we could hang on to our uniqueness, and it'll be hard, but if we could hang on to our uniqueness,
Yeah.
location.
I'm into that. I like that. Favourite Kiwi artist or song?
Do you know? I quite like Jen Wigmore. Is she still around?
I haven't heard anything to suggest otherwise. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I
around.
quite like Jen
define
Wigmore.
around.
Well, when she was, is she still producing music?
I haven't heard a song.
No.
But that's not to say there isn't one.
I think she's great. She had that quite, and it's not a unique voice, but it was a bit of a style with a semi-unique voice. And there were a couple of great songs there. Air New Zealand used to play them in the toilets.
Yes. Yes, they did. I do remember that too.
Why are we talking about toilets so much? That's just purely coincidental.
Yeah. No, I've got
But they did. The last time I heard Jen Wigmore was in a toilet.
toilet.
I don't know if they play Jen Wigmore in Economy.
All right, there he is. Where would you love to go in Aotearoa that you haven't been?
Oh, I've been to all the places I'd like to go to,
Okay.
really. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing if I could be bothered taking the time out, wouldn't mind doing a really nice road trip in winter, in like around Cromwell and Wanaka and places like that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful countryside, isn't it?
It's
really...
it's
And
unreal.
it's desert-esque in some ways around Cromwell. It is desert-esque.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Your last question, Paul, is you're stranded on the Auckland Islands, in particular Disappointment Island. What are the five
Quite
things...
frankly, anything in the Auckland Islands would be a disappointment.
yeah,
if you could
I
be
mean,
stranded on an island anywhere, the Auckland Islands would be disappointing.
Yeah. So you're picking five things to, like, you're stranded, so I can't do anything about that. But the five things that you're taking to try and alleviate that disappointment.
I mean, presumably I've got enough water, have I? And enough food. Because obviously food and water would be pretty...
Yeah, I mean, okay, you could be creative. So, yeah, you've got those.
Okay, I've got those. Number one, Starlink. Number
shout.
2, generator with plenty of fuel. Number 3, an iPad. Number 4, a phone. Wine. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of really nice... I think I'm going to go Cab Sav. I'd rather go Pinot Noir, but if whoever's curating this dream gets the wrong Pinot Noir, it might be a disappointment. So let's go for Cab Sav.
So you think it's easier to stuff up your Pinot Noir
gosh,
order
yes.
for the
Yes.
island than the Cab Sav order?
If you are, like, okay, say you're in a restaurant, right? This is my little handy tip.
Okay.
Say you're in a restaurant, you look at the wine list, your favourite wine, if you're like me, is Pinot Noir, and you don't recognise any of the... Now, you could go for region. You could say, oh, well, they've got a Pinot Noir from Central Otago or similar wherever you are in the world. If you know the region is very good for that particular variety, you could risk it, but it's still a risk because a bad Pinot Noir is undrinkable. A bad Cab Sav is a disappointment, but you'll still drink it. Same with Merlot, you know. A bad one is a shame, but it's drinkable. But a bad Pinot Noir,
No good.
May as well just stick with the water.
Okay.
Do you know, my wife, I've got one question for you.
Yes.
This is from yesterday, right? So we decided yesterday, because we've had quite a busy day, because we eat out a lot, but we decided yesterday, on the way home, she said, I'll just call into the dairy, grab some eggs, and we'll just have scrambled egg. So my wife is not just a grab some eggs kind of girl. So we go to a dairy, and to contextualise this, it's in Remuera. That only slightly contextualises it. So she goes in, disappears into the dairy, comes out with eggs, doesn't get back in the truck, disappears again, back into the dairy, but she goes into the greengrocer next door, right? Comes back with a little packet of chives, right? Puts them in the car. I don't know why she can only carry one food type at a time. Goes back into the greengrocers and comes back in a sheepish way with a small, emphasise on small, bunch of grapes, which are wrapped in that stuff. You know how at duty free you buy a bottle of wine and it's in that like sleeve?
Yes.
Of like polystyrene, almost polystyrene sleeve. It's sort of wrapped in one of those. Anyway, we get home. She opens the grapes up. They're lovely, small bunch of grapes. They're quite big and they're green, right? But they're lovely. So I eat one. I say, oh, that's quite nice. How much were these? That's my go-to thing. How much was that? You know? Oh, I see we've got a new car. How much was that? You know, I said, how much were those? And she said, they were quite dear, I'll be honest. Okay, so my wife yesterday in Remuera at a greengrocer's buys a bunch of grapes. How much do you think they cost? This was yesterday.
Yes.
I shit you not. This is absolutely true.
$12.99.
For a small bunch of grapes, $35. I shit you not. $35 for a small bunch of grapes. Did she? I was almost speechless when she told me.
I'm trying to think though about the process of going, I'll go get the eggs, but then she's also gone in and got the chives.
She saw the grapes and she said, oh, they looked lovely, and I thought I'd buy you some grapes. I like grapes. She said they looked lovely, so I picked them up and discerned that they were lovely before I saw the price. So she'd already worked, this is psychology, she'd already worked through the fact, oh, I'm buying grapes. Then she saw the price, and even she thought, shit, that's a lot. When she went to the counter, these grapes were so expensive. When she went to the counter, the greengrocer said, you've seen the price on those grapes. Even the greengrocer was embarrassed. I said to her, how many of these grapes was a huge bin? She said, no, there were 3. Sat on the shelf, there were 3 little... I mean, did you ever think you would get old enough to live to the point that a bunch of grapes is $35 in a greengrocer's?
And I must imagine that anyone listening at the moment has got their little violin out for you. At feeling sorry for the expensive grapes.
She was embarrassed. She was embarrassed. And she said to me, she said, well, how much do you think they cost? She said, guess. And so I said, well, there are 4 digits. Please don't tell me they were more than $100. There are 4 digits. I'm thinking, given the way you've presented this to me, that the first digit is a 2. She said no. And I thought, oh, thank God it's a 1. Maybe they were $19.
Have you finished them all?
$35. And do you know what? Oh, in the sitting. I thought, I can't risk one of these grapes going bung. Because they do. Because flip side, you go to New World and you get a big bunch of grapes for $6 and half of them are rotten by the time you get them home. Aren't they?
Well, yeah.
They've designed them so that they ripen the minute you pick them up. Oh, are these okay? Oh, they look perfect. Eat them now. Eat them straight away. They'll be perfect for the next 14 seconds. But yeah, so ate them straight away. God almighty.
Shit.
They had a good taste. They all looked good. There probably were only about 35 actual grapes. I mean, probably. They were quite big. So
we're talking $1 a grape here?
We're talking damn near $1 a grape.
Gosh.
Because I didn't count them because I was trying to feverishly eat them.
Far out. Well, look, from the bottom of my heart, thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Remuera in these tough times.
Yeah. Well, that's why you go into Remuera, you look at those people now, and they're parched. They can't eat, because they haven't eaten grapes. They haven't got any grape in their mouth. We're going to have to move out of Remuera. We can't afford grapes.
The grapes.
Do you know in the old days, and do you know there was quite a business in renting out pineapples? Yeah.
What do you mean renting
In the
out a
old days, to
pineapple?
people who owned stately homes, they would rent them pineapples for when they had functions that, and they invited people around.
Yeah.
They would rent pineapples to have them on the table. And I don't know if if they had guests that would all of a sudden take to a pineapple with a knife. Shit, he's eating the pineapple.
We're going to return the pineapple. We're going to return the pineapple on Tuesday.
How are we going to repair that? But no, they rented out pineapples. That's amazing, eh? That's why in a lot of the stately homes, you look at even on some of the houses, the concrete work and that has got pineapple shapes, and sometimes because that was the sign of affluence, was that you had pineapples and you travelled, you were worldly.
And the people used to rent them, eh?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Imagine that.
Wow.
We've had a good day today.
Hey, well, look, thanks for coming in.
Brilliant.
You can have the book. Do not forget that bloody phone of yours.
I'll see if I can find out who was ringing before. It didn't seem to be operating. Thank you for the book.
You have the book, and it was an absolute pleasure. All the best with all of the Pauls. Portfolio Paul, Palm Springs Paul, travelling
You'll
to London.
remember the portfolio thing.
Yeah, I will now.
Yeah.
And have a bloody wonderful Christmas.
Brilliant. Thank you, Brodie.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Good luck with that Joe Kane woman.
She's great. You'd like her. You'd vibe with her.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because she doesn't mince her words or give a shit either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you everyone for listening or watching. That was Kiwi Yarns. We'll see you next week.